a little bit of an understanding of what antibodies are, and the donor-specific antibodies that you're mentioning. A subset of patients, small subset of patients, ask about that. But we really don't get too many people asking about things. I mean, I would say that they're pretty much, unless they have that particular problem, like for instance they have a problem with a rejection and donor-specific antibodies, they may not be prompted to know about it just kind of off the cuff, like, just if everything is going smoothly, they're not going to delve into that or jump into that area.
Curious, are there any initiatives or actions you could think of that would improve post-transplant surveillance?
Right. That's a great question. I think that, initiatives that would improve post-transplant surveillance would be, I think that I feel like we don't do such a bad job at the present time, I guess is the way I would think about it. If patients come back for their routine testing, they do their lab work as we request them to do, and let's say in the first year, as you get a little bit further out in the first year, you do labs every month. If they do what they're supposed to do, I think we have a very, very good track record. Our survivals for the allograft in the first year are, high 90s, above 95%. People can do very, very well. So I feel like we have a very good sense of, which patients are doing well and which patients need more investigation. I'm not against, additional testing. I mean, don't get me wrong like that. I just feel like we do a fairly good job of knowing, because we're basically in the field and we've been practicing this for a long time.
Right. Okay. So tell me, how familiar are you with AlloSure?
Yeah, I'm very familiar with the testing. We have the representative from AlloSure, constantly coming to try to persuade us to use the testing more. And, so to give you a general idea of what we do, is we don't use AlloSure routinely. One of the things that had dissuaded me from thinking about it is just that, to me, I feel that the cost of testing, doesn't always, that the expense is not justified, not because the provider is paying it or the patient is paying it. Well, we understand that the insurance is paying it, but it seems like it's a big cost to the system. And to me, it doesn't always provide, any additional value, more than a biopsy in most situations. So we use it very selectively. We use it in high immunologic risk patients. These are defined as second transplant PRAs, that are high, African Americans, and we use those. We use it selectively in those patients, a percentage of those patients, to monitor them. I would say that about 20% of our patients are what you'd call immunologic high risk, and I would say that we're using the testing in about 30% of the 20%. So probably about 5% or so of the patients are getting some type of AlloSure testing, to monitor their progress. So by no means routine from our standpoint.
I see. So 30% use of the 20% high risk, and you mentioned cost. Can you just tell me a little bit more about cost? I assume you know that it is covered by Medicare, but any other aspects of cost that you can talk to me about?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yes, I know it's covered. It's like $2,800 a test.
Yep.
They want you to do it probably about 10 to 12 times during the first year, maybe 10 times. So $28,000 or so. For us, the issue that comes up as far as the cost aspect is that, we of course, we've always been worried that sometimes the patients will have co-pays that, may end up getting transmitted to them. I don't think any of the patients that we've actually taken care of have had that problem, though. So I would say it would be unfair for me to portray the AlloSure test in a negative way like that. But what happens essentially is the utilization of the test provides a diagnostic information. So you have a value greater than 1, let's say, as part of the cutoff. So it